Hey friend, Kris Simpson here, and today we're going to answer a question that I get asked quite frequently, which is, when should I do cardio? Before or after my weight training? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I know I have, but only in the past few years, because prior to that, as a competitive bodybuilder, I'd actually banned cardio from my fitness regime, and I just didn't believe in it. So things have changed, and I've graciously accepted cardio back into my life, and now I've incorporated it into my fitness program. But the question still remains, when should we do cardio? Should it be before our weight training or after our weight training? So I'm going to answer that today. I'm going to give you the pros and the cons of both. But before I do that, I want to ask you a question here. What's more important to you, increasing your strength or increasing your endurance and your stamina? Because those things are going to factor in regards to when you do your cardio. Is it going to be before your weight training or after? And here's the second question for you. What turns you on? What motivates you? Does cardio do it for you? I know it doesn't really do it for me, but I need to know if it motivates me because I need to put it in some sort of sequential order that will at least allow me to get it done, even if I don't like it. So answer those two questions for me. What are your goals? Is it to increase strength or is it to increase endurance and stamina? And maybe it's both, but what wins out? What slightly tips the scales? Is it the strength that you're after or the endurance and the stamina? Of course, you're going to get both, but if you had to make a decision, which one would it be? So now I'm going to get into the pros and the cons of when to do cardio. Should it be before or after your weight training? So before your weight training, the pros of that would be simply that a warm body always performs better than a cold body. And cardio is a great way to warm up. By 5 minutes, I can already feel my temperature rising. My core temperature, right down to the bones, is increasing. And that's a great thing. It's because it prevents injury, something that I was very, very susceptible to, probably because I wasn't doing cardio when I was bodybuilding, and that I'm not seeing much frequently now. I've been injury-free for some time, more or less, at least in the gym. Out there, well, that's a different story, leading that reckless life that I live, of course, falling off bikes and whatnot. Back on subject here, so the pros would be the fact that you're warming up. Synovial fluid is increasing in your joints. You're getting that lubrication. You're also stimulating your nervous system as well, that sympathetic nervous system, where we're going to get all of the endorphins and dopamine and all the things that we need to ready ourselves for the weight training. So when we get in there, we can work out with intensity. We can pump it up and not really lose any motivation while we're in 30 minutes or 45 minutes of weight training, which obviously can be a little bit boring because it's quite repetitive. The cons would be the fact that you're going to be spending energy. You're going to be spending energy doing the cardio, the treadmill, the Stairmaster, the bike, or whatever it is for you, and you'll be going in with less of a full tank for your weight training session. So that's going to be a problem for somebody that wants to increase strength because they want to put all of their energy into the weight training, and they will be somewhat depleted or fatigued depending on the exercise intensity of the cardio, of course, but they're not going to have an absolute full tank. Now, a common misconception about cardio being one of the best warm-ups, well, it's not. In fact, arguably, things like dynamic stretching, which is just exaggerated motions from kicking to upper body twists, that will actually warm your body up, but what they'll also do is increase your flexibility. It's almost stretching before you work out, and you're getting two birds with one stone. Not only are you warming up, but you're also getting a good stretch before you hit the weights, which is fantastic. Calisthenics is another great way to warm up. So the cardio is not the only way to warm up. There is other ways, and in fact, I would also argue that dynamic stretching, being a little bit more intense with your body weight without any aid like a moving treadmill belt or something like that, it actually can warm you up quite fast. So that's the pros and cons of doing cardio before your workout. But what about the pros and cons of doing cardio after your workout? So first, the pro. The pro would be it is a great cool down. Now, cool downs are part of that standard garden variety fitness template that we have, where we start with that warm up and then we do most of the work in the middle, and then we all end it with a nice cool down. And that is one great way to cool your body down, doing some low intensity cardio. Now, that would be a con, because if you're trying to get high intensity cardio and you're trying to increase your endurance and your strength, well, doing it after a weight training session, of course, you are going in with not as much energy, first of all. And second of all, to do a proper cool down, it has to be low intensity. So I would argue that cardio wouldn't be the best cool down in that case. In fact, stretching would be. A misconception about doing cardio after your workout would be, and I've fallen into this too, thinking that you'll burn more fat because you've exhausted your glycogen or your sugar stores in your body with all the weight training that you're doing. So you think that when you get onto the cardio, well, now you're in sort of that depleted state, so you'll get more fat burning from the cardio you're doing post-workout or post-weight training. But you see, we know the science says that is not true. So what do? I do my cardio before my weight training. I do 20 minutes every workout, and the reason why I do that, well, actually there's a few reasons. The first one is my body does perform better when it's warm. When I was into bodybuilding, what I would do is just a warm-up of whatever particular exercise I was going to start off with. Maybe it was a bench press. I would just do a few sets at a lighter weight, and then I would get right into it. So a few things there. My entire body wasn't warm. Maybe I'd warmed up the muscles, the chest in the bench press scenario, but what about all the other supporting muscle groups that weren't warm? My lower back, for example. I was getting a lot of injuries when I was in competitive bodybuilding, and I think one of the reasons, primary reason, was because I wasn't warming up. I wasn't doing cardio before my weight training. In fact, I wasn't doing cardio at all, as I had mentioned. So that's one reason. The second reason is I find that I'm a lot more alert. I'm a lot more ready when I get into my weight training. There's no pitter-pattering. I don't have to do as many light sets building up to my heavier sets. I'm really good to go right off the bat, and that just speeds up my whole workout. I find that when I'm on the cardio, I'm working up a sweat, and then I get onto the weight training floor, and I'm already heated, and it's just a nice segue. It's a nice progression. There's no stopping. It just keeps on going, and I really, really like that. And lastly, these days, I'm also focused on increasing my endurance and my stamina. Strength training is still important to me. I love feeling strong, but over the past few years, I've really noticed that increasing my endurance and stamina also makes me feel pretty darn good. Being able to fly up a set of stairs and not being out of wind, going up the CN Tower and taking that challenge, something that I probably wouldn't have been able to do when I wasn't doing cardio. All of these kinds of things also make me feel great too, and that's why I'm putting that emphasis. And first things first, I'm getting onto the cardio machine, and I'm doing 20 minutes, a variety of elliptical and spin bikes, and trying to mix it up as much as I can, some step mills as well, never trying to do the same thing all the time. In fact, that is the challenge I would like to pose to you. After watching this video, the next week coming forward, what I'd like you to do, if you are doing cardio, I'd like you to switch it up. And I'd like you, if you're doing cardio in the beginning or prior to your weight training, I want you to do it at the end, and vice versa. And the reason why I want you to do that is I want you to shock your body. I want you to confuse your muscles and your whole physiology. And we know that when we do these kinds of shock therapies, what ends up happening is we get progress. We avoid the plateau. So that'll be the challenge. I want you to switch up your cardio. Hey, if you're not even doing any weight training, you're watching this video, then what I'd like you to do is start doing some weight training and cut back on the cardio again, or vice versa. Just some sort of change over the next 7 days. Give it a shot. I know it's gonna rock you out of your comfort zone, but that's not where we wanna be if we're looking for results. So my friend, that's it for today. I hope you learned about the pros and the cons of doing cardio before or after your session, and I just want you to move in whatever way works for you. And I always want you to inspire to aspire.